I think that there's I'll just call it the rock band, heavy, where it's just like a great balance of everything. Celtic Frost is kind of a great example of that, like Morbid Tales. Because it's just like really, boom, pa, boom, drums just right there. The bass is nice and complementary with that. You can hear it. It's nice and tight. Where then the guitar, it's trebly. That's what guitars are supposed to be. And then, voice. It's all just good, all-encompassing, heavy.
Yeah, no, and especially for its time. I mean, it definitely is. I mean, but I mean, like, my take is, I guess it depends on, like you said, how you define it too. Because like when I think of like,
I don't think time has anything to do with it.
No, but when I think of like the heaviest band of all time, a band that enters my mind is not something that our parents might like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't think our parents would like Celtic Frost, but they certainly wouldn't. They would definitely prefer that over Suffocation.
And that's why, at least then, say Celtic Frost is more the rock band heavy because they stand a chance because like something like an early Rainbow record is heavy, and it's rock band heavy. It's a well balanced, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I would say that somebody has a better standing chance of like a Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. That's more of a Rainbow fan.
It's just funny because that whole stuff, and I like the early Rainbow albums. Like Rainbow Rising is my favorite one, and it's just funny because you look at the '70s crowd, and you could definitely see it like watching, for example, like if you could see the crowd in it, like any Black Sabbath live shows, like on YouTube or whatever. Live shows, if you could see the crowd, it's just funny. You could see and I'm talking in the '70s when the classic lineup, you could just which that was considered a relatively heavy band or a heavy metal band at the time, and so that was kind of like the forefront of extreme bands like Sabbath, Priest,
of course,
AC/DC. Those are the extreme forefront bands at the time, and it's funny. But you look at the crowd and the people there, it just looks like.
They're just kind of like, not even doing that, but almost like
they're all clapping.
Right. They don't know
like
what
people
to do.
like that I would never like. I don't know. This looks like kind of like your mom and dad there at a young age. Like it doesn't look like a
rowdy kids.
Yeah.
Even of their era.
It looks almost like a bunch of fucking hippies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where it's like they don't like heavy music.
But even to the like they're not obviously doing this, but it's almost like those eras before there was like a headbang or something. Like they just didn't know what to do. They almost wanted to.
It's funny because even watching like Sabbath back then, almost even they kind of did. Like Ozzy's not headbanging or anything.
Right.
He's kind of just standing there. Yeah.
I think even somebody or even himself or somebody ragged on like when you watch like early like Ozzy, it's just like damn man, his hands have to hurt after he's clapping so much. And and Geezer and them, they're just kind of just standing around. It reminds me of the Jim Gaffigan joke of where it's like when you see those old photos of people listening to the radio, they're just staring at the radio, probably thinking, "Oh God, I can't wait until somebody invents TV." That's like, it's kind of like I can't wait to like somebody's got to invent headbanging or something. Like I don't know what to do at these gigs because if you do like the California stage set or something. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like that. It totally is. It's like there's no like, I mean. Even a long hair of that time kind of just looked like a hippie. It like they just blended in. Like,
I mean, even just look at Sabbath and shit like that. And it shows like the way Ozzy was dressed at that time. I mean, he didn't like really develop a kind of a cool metal looking image until he started the band Ozzy. Particularly Sabbath. Yeah, he kind of just looked like a hippie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's probably even why long hair existed. Like, I guess
pretty much, and everybody thinks it's the most metal thing on earth, and it's like, just kind of a bunch of hippies. To be
probably
honest.
A bunch of hippies that weren't taking showers, and a haircut was definitely not in their vocabulary.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I cut my fucking hair. I grew it back. It was easier.
Yeah.
Don't have to go to the fucking get a haircut.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I know. Yeah. So, but I think that's where they kind of like stem from. But
yeah. Well, then there is then I think also. So let's get to another heavy. The more of, I guess, like a South American Brazilian heavy. Because that's not like really crunchy heavy or anything.
That's almost like, I never considered a lot of that stuff really heavy. It's a lot great, like Sarcophago, Sepultura. Because it's kind of like has an uptuned like guitar. You know what I mean?
Totally. But I don't always think it's about bass, right?
I don't know. Like whenever I always consider like just heavy, like for me, like the two heaviest albums, whenever you're like, what's the most heavy shit you ever heard? Like if aliens came from outer space and said, what's the heaviest shit you got? I want to hear it. I never heard it before. I would, what my personally think is, because it's so down tune, is Mortician, House by the Cemetery. And it's particularly that one. They're all super low tune. but because it's super raw, that one too, some people might even think it sounds like shit, but I think it sounds fantastic. In fact, it's so fucking down tuned, it almost gives me a headache sometimes listening to it, like when in certain areas, the way it's echoey. And and I'll just pick any of their albums will suffice, but particularly House by the Cemetery. And also just to use another different band as an example, so they give the Alien two different bands, not the two discs by the same fucking band, is I would also say Incantation, Onward to Golgotha. Now those are just like you were saying, it's a different type. Like it's I think what the average person thinks is everything's just so down tuned and so low and just dark sounding too.
Yeah, but like there's a like you know, for instance, I'm a guitar player. I've been playing a lot in standard tuning and finding like, wow, I kind of like this better sometimes because there's a different heaviness, because it's like it's the range of notes, and they just seem, because it's just the standard, I guess, that it's easier to kind of chime into, you know, the scales and everything that, you know, it's like the alphabet, that if you're like to switch the alphabet and it starts at D, well, it throws off your perspective a little bit. It's harder to kind of comprehend the modes and all the things that, you know, run the language, essentially, that is music. So like it made me appreciate the E tuning, that like I even think like, you know, you bring up Deicide a lot of stuff, so maybe not particular Deicide, but I know there's definitely classic death metal albums, maybe even Obituary, that is actually maybe not in standard tuning, but like how I reiterate this, where a half step down, so E flat is 1 fret lower.
Okay.
So a full step is 2 frets.
Okay.
So it's just 1 fret lower. That's not much. So, and that's, you know, nobody would have thought, hell, there might have been, if we had an audience here, people choosing Obituary as some of the heaviest stuff, if that is indeed true.